can down.
All right, well, one more second.
Put the can down.
Okay.
All right, Joe, you sing the high part.
You got it.
Come and meet the family, talking about my brothers and me. We don't have a pedigree, but we're brothers. We might follow different dreams, we might play on different teams. Where it counts behind the scenes, we're brothers. Might march to different drums, we might disagree. Don't you know when trouble comes, you can come to me, you're my family. And curve that life may throw, anywhere the wind may blow.
Good! Yeah. That's good. It's good.
We open in Mr. Dickerson's history class. Seriously, what's up with hiring these teachers from Arkham Asylum?
Good morning, Mr. Dickerson.
Stop sucking up. It won't work.
Apparently this teacher's claim to fame is failing his students.
Tomorrow is our history midterm. No one has passed it in 3 years.
With the history midterm coming up, Mr. Dickerson assures impending doom to all his class since no one has passed his ironclad history exam with a difficulty level of 666 in over 3 years and counting.
I mean, our teacher, Mr. Dickerson, is more horrible than 4 zits on a first date.
Surely, wouldn't this belligerent act of child abuse be grounds for dismissal if the fail rate was this high?
Who shot Lincoln Street?
It wasn't me. John Wilkes Booth.
Where?
The Ford Theater.
Year?
1865.
Successor?
President Johnson.
Which Johnson?
Magic Johnson.
None of this is on the test.
Come on, PTA, drag this asshole to the school board immediately.
This is your principal, Mr. Belding.
Stop interrupting my class.
Mr. Dickerson even enjoys fucking around with the students during study time.
Mr. Dickerson, I don't want to miss a review, but you see, this class trip is the biggest deal this school year. Go! All right.
But the only trip this class will take is to summer school.
Yeah, someone needs a deep psychological evaluation, stat. The group then meets in Mr. Belding's office to conduct their meeting toward the ski trip.
I think we should visit the Hershey Chocolate Factory.
As fat people would rather drown their sorrows in sugar, fat, and salt.
Fat chance, Milton.
They later argue about the trip and Mr. Belding goes, fuck this shit. If you can't agree on a simple place for fun and leisure, then I'll pick one to bore you out myself.
This trip can be educational and fun at the same time.
For extra added migraines, I added a stipulation. You have to pass your history midterm or it's a no-go.
In the meantime, hit those books, because if you don't pass your midterms, there'll be no class trip for any of you.
They then head to Zach's house to study, and after ingesting some magic shrooms, it's a nightmare on Dickerson Street, as Dickerson is everywhere.
You'll never pass my test, Zachy. Psst. Your looks won't get you through this one, cheerleader. F, you're both getting an F. You think you're smart, you think you're hip. Put your books away, cause there's no class trip.
Next thing you know, he'll be replacing Will Smith on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
I need a break.
Nice way to promote your shows, NBC, with a spin-off of Hanging Out with Mr. Cooper. Cooper. Next day in school, things aren't what they seem, for we find Mr. Dickerson is 5 minutes late to class.
It's been almost 5 minutes since the bell rang. Where do you think Dickerson is?
A running gag ensues with Screech passing time by passing a lot of BS that the class can't help but hit him repeatedly.
Gee, I hope nothing happened to him.
Hey, I like the change already. Should be in every episode.
All right. Look, everybody, if Dickerson's not here in 30 seconds, I'm invoking the 5-minute rule.
Mr. Belding comes in and offers some warm-hearted news that Mr. Dickerson has taken some personal time off, probably because he lost his sanity for failure to connect with today's society in a civil manner, that he had to go home and stew around his witch's cauldron, brewing up more hexes, spells, and curses.
Yeah!
I think it's safe to say time off basically means he was one batshit motherfucker, and it's a miracle our school GPA will be rising now to a respectful D- instead of an F.
That's too bad. What happened?
Well,
Mr. Belding finds a proper substitute by digging through his family tree with his very own brother, Rod.
I think you're losing it, sir. You're Mr. Belding.
this is also Mr. Belding. This is my brother, Rod Belding.
Rod.
Get out of here.
You can tell upon first glance that Rod is a free spirit, has long hair, and insists that his class only calls him Rod.
He's right.
So to connect with the youth of tomorrow, he tells them to purge Mr. Dickerson from their memory by taking his test and tearing it up. Then he follows up by informing his students that from now on, grade yourself.
I love this guy.
Everyone gives himself an A, while Screech fears a school curve going on and would rather settle for a B-.
My heart says A, but my head says C+.
And my lips say you're brain dead if you take the C+.
It may be dumb for you. GPAs don't rise to acceptable state standards overnight.
Okay, Rod. Now, is this on the level here? I mean, are you for real?
It tells you how short of a lifespan Rod has as a teacher, as the acute baldness forming on Richie Belding's head.
Wow. A building with two Beldings, one of whom is balding.
Rod then does a Clay Matthews-like intimate photo spread laying on the desk with his fuckwork, embrace the beauty in life, idiot ideology, and how he quit the airline business to become a substitute teacher.
So I said to the head of the airline, make somebody else a vice president. I need my summers off to follow my dreams.
Yeah, because apparently those substitute teachers really give you that extra added bonus of time away from achieving an acceptable source of income.
And being a substitute teacher is perfect. I get the same vacation you guys do and none of the homework.
What he fails to mention is that you never get paid through the summer and what you actually make. Yeah, it's a teacher's life for me.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Mr. Belding comes to announce that the location for this class trip will be at Yosemite National Park.
Yeah, Yosemite. Yeah, that could be good.
Now I'm shocked. They actually picked a real geographical place you can go to that's not in the state of mind of something that isn't there in Los Angeles, like mountains, ski resorts, cold weather, and a big pile of baloney.
I like it, Mr. Belding.
I'm speechless. The writers are finally making some sense now. The writers finally bring it on home as to how cool Rod is by allowing his two favorite goofsters, Zach and Screech, watch the Dodgers game in Mr. Belding's office while he is attending a school board meeting.
If Mr. Belding catches us in here watching the Dodger game.
Oh, you're right. He'll be mad. He's a Giants fan.
Funny, I don't recall baseball occurring on most afternoons.
Taking risks and pushing yourself to the limit.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
Zach and Screech pour on the roast of Richard Belding, and already their hard-on for Rod has reached max sausage.
Sit down. Okay. I think it's time we had a man-to-man, guy-to-guy talk. No.
Oh, just kidding. You really do remind me of my brother.
Strange revelations are revealed when we learn that Screech's mom packed him 3 pairs of long johns with locks on the trap door to keep the bears out. Is his mom afraid he will be raped by Yogi Bear?
Well, what's it gonna be, son?
Okay, I'll go for
I guess the writers really did morph him into a wild animal. Rod thinks back on fond memories of his class trip, whitewater rafting, and this gets the wheels turning to pitch the idea to the gang to add a little adventure to the Yosemite trip.
Oh, please. Should I throw up now or save it for the raft?
They all relate this to Mr. Belding to ask them if Rod can lead the trip.
We don't want to go on your boring nature trip. We want to go whitewater rafting.
Mr. Belding gets upset in that he would rather follow Rod than with him, because substitutes are always qualified to lead class trips on their limited knowledge of everything that isn't posted on today's lesson plan.
Oh, I see. What you're saying is that all of you would like to go with him.
So back at the gym, Rod has simulated the trip by inflating the raft, and the gang is creating their raft experience. So let me clarify. Are they actually going to Yosemite, or is this school code for a trip to Imagination Land?
Kelly, look at the mountains and the trees.
Oh, there's a deer drinking water.
Feels like that for a while until they finally clue us in that they're actually practicing for the trip, because inflating a model raft is the same as riding through sharp, rough currents while navigating past sharp rocks that could cut you up into shreds.
It's pretend.
Well, if it's pretend, why am I getting seasick? Oh.
Slater and Zach are happy to oblige, as this session gives them plenty of CPR time to practice on their ladies instead of a proper CPR doll to avoid, legality concerns on, I don't know, reckless endangerment?
All right, now take a breath. Go for it.
Mr. Belding comes in and sees Rod has turned history class into a foreplay session and orders everyone back to class.
Boys were demonstrating CPR.
Yeah. Looks like they were making out to me.
Zach gets irate at Mr. Belding because for the first time he is actually doing his job to ensure students learn instead of giving it to the whims of the party time life of Spuds McBelding here.
Rod?
Yeah, no other teacher ever cared so much about us.
Well, maybe he should care more about teaching and less about being popular.
Maybe you're jealous of your own brother.
The night before the trip, they're back with everyone, all packed, and Zach ups the ante even further by informing they are now going to the Colorado River.
You know, I finally found a subject I love, leaving school.
Wow! Now I'm not blown away. These writers are really sparing no expense picking now a destination that's an actually realistic destination a school would venture out in California, since Colorado River does geographically run through California. Now what is with Slater's wardrobe? Does Bayside have a dress code reminiscent of Paris Hilton's?
Someone should rescue you from your macho fantasies.
Lisa only asked for the essentials as the writers are cashing in on the stupid, spoiled rich girl cliche. Like, for sure, whatever. As for Screech, well, Screech seems to be the damaged love child of Rambo and Gilligan.
I'm not gonna drown this time.
Don't you think the class has overdone themselves? The trip is only for a week, not a month. Also, what is with this school that can randomly whisk students away on such expensive ventures, even if it is for a week? Does the Department of Education even bother to step in? Milton has arrived and has seen a bad moon has been arising as he informs that the buses have arrived, but Rod has not.
Where's Rod?
Oh, I'll go look for him.
This prompts Zach to track down Rod, only to find him back in Mr. Belding's office as he overhears a little bro time talk.
That is so important that you would disappoint 30 kids.
Richie, if you met this stewardess, you'd know.
Here's where Rod's smug Benedict Arnold colors shine on.
You're doing this to spend time with some stewardess?
It's not just some stewardess. This is Inga.
One hand, he does appear to be teacher material. He seems cool, laid back, and seems to have everything all in place. But in the end, he is one impressionable jackass who would sell his own mother's soul for a chance to join the Mile High Club.
She's only in town for the weekend.
It's fucking Inga. You don't turn down an Inga. Mr. Belding is furious at his decision and is horrified that he even let him come to Bayside.
Promised me you had changed, but no, you are the same Rod.
You learn once a fuck up, always a fuck up.
She's gorgeous. You should see her. She's a 10.
Mr. Belding does something completely irrelevant in the history of Bayside as he takes the bull by the horns and makes the ground shake by firing another incompetent teacher.
Get out of my school, Rod.
Zach returns utterly distraught and shocked over Rod's revelation to someone whom almost resembles Zach's true father figure.
Zach, are you alright?
I'm not feeling so good, Kelly.
What's wrong?
Before he lets the others in on his bad news, Mr. Belding arrives and lets them down gently and lets them know that Rod came down with the flu, and instead of canceling the trip like he agreed to, he's going to take them on the trip himself.
I may not be a great rafting expert like Rod or even as cool a guy, but, well, I'd like to try and take his place.
In the end, these students don't care about how much he knows until Belding grows his heart 2 sizes larger to show how much he cares.
You mean you want to take us?
Yeah. You don't mind a leader who can't swim too well.
Let's go rafting, Mr. B.
Heavy stuff, riders. Have a tissue.
Have a great time, Mr. Belding. Thank you.
All in all, couldn't be even more impressed at what I can honestly say has been the best episode of the series to date. Great pacing, genuinely funny, great touching moments, proper characterization, and for the first time, a coherent and believable plot that offers us a most satisfying conclusion straight from the heart. There are no stupid subplots that jump out of the bushes to distract us from the main plot, and everything that happens here happens in congruence with what would actually happen at a real high school. Well, excluding the week-long rafting excursion. Most importantly, it portrays Mr. Belding in a positive light and reverses the cliche once brought upon him and influences his actions of responsibility for the next 9 years. Instead of the free-spirited rebellious teacher being the good guy, we find out that he isn't quite the role model, for he turns out to be a real tool, aka asshole.
Is that what you're gonna tell the kids? That you dumped them for some weekend fling?
Of course not. Tell them I'm sick. Tell them anything. Cover for me.
That lets everyone down in the end. Inga, the stewardess, come on.
She's gorgeous. You should see her. She's a 10.
Seriously, NBC, has health frozen over? Are we in the clear for more of these surprisingly good classics to come? Only time will tell.
Rod always was the more exciting Belding.
Maybe. But we got the better Belding.